We can find hope in many different places. And one of the places that I find hope is in other people's stories. Today, we have someone sharing their story with us, Denise Johnson, and I can't wait to dive into her story because I think we're going to find a lot of good nuggets of hope as well as wisdom. My name is Jasmine McClure, and I have with me my friend,
Mary Miller.
Yep. And we are both life coaches who experienced sudden and devastating loss. And we wanted to take the pain that we felt and the lessons that we learned in that to be a resource for others who are dealing with the same. Maybe you're at the beginning of your journey, the middle of your journey. Maybe it's been 10, 15 years. Wherever you are at, we hope that our conversations, our authentic conversations, would bring hope and healing to you. So today I have with me Denise Johnson. First, welcome, Denise.
Thank you.
Yep. I met Denise at Whole Heart, which is a nonprofit center in Frederick, Maryland, and it's a grief and life resource center. So we met there, and it was the unfortunate circumstances that brought us together. I had been coaching through Whole Heart for a little bit, but our stories connected, and so she's going to share her story with you today. So without any further ado, actually, and I forgot to mention this, but Denise Johnson actually is also a Whole Heart life coach, as well as an author of a book, but we were going to talk about that book a little bit later. So, but for now, I'm going to hand it over to you, Denise. So tell us a little bit about your story and what even brought us together.
Thank you both so much. And if you don't mind, throughout our time together, I may need to sip water because I'm fighting allergies today. My story began, this phase of my life began 14 years ago this year with my first sudden loss. My husband went out for a bike ride with friends, and he never came home. That's the easiest way I can explain that. He just literally did not come home. And that started our lives, mine and my children's, on this trajectory that we just never anticipated. I thought, and don't laugh, but I thought as God-fearing people, stuff like this would not happen. Not sure where I got that thought from, but I did. I was literally surprised that my father would allow me to face this. He would allow my children to face this, and he would call my husband home so soon. And that shocked me. But what it did too was shock my faith. It said to me, I remember the night that the officers came to my home and told me that he didn't make it. I remember thinking, my goodness, okay, calm down, because this is what all of this has been for. It's as if the Holy Spirit spoke directly to me in my own voice. You know how you talk to yourself sometimes? That was one of those moments where I talked to myself and I said, this is what all of this has been about. This right here is what getting up on Sunday mornings, what Bible study has been about, what services have been about. This is everything that we have gone through as a family to cultivate our faith walk has been for this. That you can't be mad at God now. And I literally remember saying to myself out loud, this is what it's about. And there was just no reason for me to be angry with God. As much as I wanted to, But I found myself um, hearing in the spirit that this was neither the time nor the place.
Denise,
So
can I ask you a question here? How did your husband die?
he died in a motorcycle accident. He was, and it was interesting to go back and look at what happened in the days and hours before his passing. And in that, I could see God's movement. I could see it. It's the hindsight. But he had gone out with friends on a long ride. They were going somewhere that was about 3 hours away. It had rained that day. I knew he had new tires on his bike. He was an avid rider. He had been riding since he was 16, and he was 52 at the time of his death. Um, but I had taken off a couple of days for staycation. I was taking the kids to some places, and we were going to do some things together. But he really wanted to go on this ride. He said, "You know, Denise, I hadn't been in so many years, and they do it every year. I really would like to go." And I was frustrated, but I said, "All right, go ahead. I'll take the kids by myself with their friends to King's Dominion." So that's where we had been all day. Um, but the night before, I had gone to my cousin's birthday dinner, and Kevin and the kids were home. And our neighbor said, "I thought you guys were having a party at your house because there were so many people coming and going at your house all evening." All of his friends just stopped by throughout the evening. My kids told me about all the different people that just stopped by. It was a warm day. He was outside working in the yard, and they said how people just came by. And it was people he hadn't seen or talked to in a while. Even his brother came by, and that was a little bit unusual. So, so many people had just stopped by to visit him. He went to sleep. I came in. The next morning, he got up very early to go on his ride. And he said to me, "I'll talk to you later." Okay, great. After he left, the kids and I got up and got ready to go out for the day. And we had a good time. But he did call me. He called me from the road. Someone's bike had broke down, and they were at some place waiting for that person's bike to get fixed. And we talked for a long time, and we just talked about things we were about to do differently. He felt that need to tell me, "You know what? I wish I hadn't have come. I really wish I was with you guys right now. I would have been much better off today had I just stayed home and gone with you guys." So when I got the call that evening, and I knew I I had such a sense of the spirit that I said to the kids, "Someone called Dad." I don't know why I didn't, because I had my phone right beside me. But I just yelled out to the kids, "Someone call Dad, see how he's doing." And they couldn't get him. And I got worried. It wasn't even that it was late. This was probably 7 o'clock in the evening. But they couldn't get him. And then I tried to get him, and I couldn't get him. Then I got a strange phone call from a family member that said, "Your mother-in-law is sick. You need to go check on her." And I was like, "Where is that from?" But what they were trying to do was find out where I was, because they had the news to give me. and they needed to know I was home. So they were just checking to see where we were. And then the phone call started. And he just literally didn't come home. The accident was in Virginia, in Southern Virginia somewhere. So his body didn't come home. And the craziest part, besides his passing, was he had been with a group of people. There were other folks there, but there was a busload of people there from a church. And this was an annual cookout or something. And the motorcycles were in front of the bus. And when he went off the road, the bus stopped. The people that were on the bus were members of a choir. And they sang him out. He went into a field. His bike went off the road into a field. And there was a minister on the bus. And she prayed over him, and the choir sang. The field was so peaceful looking because I went down a few weeks later. And it literally was nothing but grass, just for as far as you could see, just grass. And there was a house there. And when I went down to the site, the people saw me and a girlfriend of mine who rode down, and they came out to tell us about that night and how the town was shaken by that night, because the town knew that these riders came in every year, and the fact that someone from that group passed away in their field, it shook them. But the officer on duty, it was his first night on the job. His first night on the job. I felt so bad for him, but it was his first night on the job. And I didn't make his life any easier, let me tell you. I wanted answers. I wanted them right then and there. He didn't know how to say to me that your husband is still on the scene here and he's gone and we don't know where to take him. Because they had no idea. It was a Saturday evening, small town. They did not know where to even take him. So it just ended up being such a long, long, long night. And I just remember thinking over and over again, he just literally is not coming home. We had to make so many adjustments and changes, and just trying to figure out what next steps were for us as a family. And I remember thinking, my daughter was 20, my middle child was 15, and my youngest was 11. And those two were boys. And how do I do this and not harm them in any way? Right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no real answer for that, because I did what I thought was best at that time. I put all of me into them. I never let them see me sweat. That was the wrong move.
I was just going to ask you if you regret that.
I regret that completely. And let me tell you, my son doesn't let me live that down too often either. Yeah, no, that was not the right move. And I couldn't think of anything else to do, I could not I actually thought they have already faced loss. How I need them to feel secure in who I am right now. I needed them to to have the certainty that mom's not going anywhere. But I put up a wall around me, and I honestly, I thought this is the best thing you can do. The moment that they told me that I hadn't done the right thing, I wanted to slap them all. Like, what do you mean I hadn't done the right thing? I did what I thought was best. There's no manual when your husband dies, you know.
Got that right. There's
There's no
no
manual how you raise the kids, and I couldn't I couldn't just fall apart or let you guys see that, because you wouldn't have had the sense of security that you had. I needed you all to feel safe. And if I succumb to my grief, how safe would you have been? But just like teenagers, they still find something wrong with it anyway. It doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter.
Can you do anything right?
Not at all.
You just can't
So,
win.
so Denise, with your kids, in retrospect or in hindsight, did all the things that you were doing, did that yield the result of them actually feeling safe? Or,
I
yeah.
think so, because you know, I made the move to get them set up in school. My daughter was in college; she was going into her junior year of college. So, drove down there, met with the counselors on campus, made sure that she was set up with focused care. Went to my youngest was starting middle school and my oldest was in high school. Went to both of the schools, and the same thing. Made sure that the schools knew what they were going through, talked to the counselors at the school, and had them with me, and had them talk to the counselors at the school to make sure that they would have focused care. My job gave me flexibility. So if either of my boys were having a day that they just couldn't recover from, we set that in place so that I would leave, go get them, and bring them home or take them someplace where they felt comfortable. But I would remove them from the environment so they didn't have to fake it through, that they could just breathe and cry. And even if that was just putting them in the car, but getting them away from other students that may not understand what they were going through, I did it. And you know, but what I didn't know is that when we were home, that they were suffering. Because when we get home, I thought that the day, we made it through the day. Now we're home. I didn't realize home was still a tough time for them. It never
Yeah.
occurred to me until they were adults and telling me all the things I'd done wrong.
Right. But I think you did what most parents try to do is in whatever form that might take is, how do I make you feel safe? Again, how do I make you feel, how do I help you get through the day? Even if I'm
Right.
struggling with getting through the day, how do I make you, what tools do I need? And so I think, making sure at school that the things are set up, for them to be able to survive through whatever that looked like. But we're going to miss, even in, I want to say, regular parenting, even without the trauma of losing, or whatever, it's always going to be something that we miss. And it's hard to dot every I and cross every T in just regular air quotes, whatever regular parenting looks like, but
Right.
minus traumatic experiences. So now, how do you think, what would it have done for them had you been more emotional, just hypothetically speaking?
I think they would have felt, they would have had the ability to be that way as well.
Mm.
I think what I could have done, instead of trying to stiff upper lip it, if I hugged and let them fall apart more, or if they had seen me, they would have felt like they knew how much I missed Dad. They knew that. Um, but I think I would have created a not just a safe space, but a warm space. If I had it to do it all over again, um, I would have created a warmer space for them. But
Yeah.
I became that single mother. I had a focus of them not falling apart. And in the meantime, I missed some signals. So that was in 2011. But I felt, everyone graduated without any issues. My daughter went on um, to do well when she first graduated. Both of my sons did well. They never gave me a moment of trouble outside the house, nothing. So I thought we had survived that. I
Did,
thought we had
do, you,
survived.
do you feel that your kids came to the place of understanding that you did the best you could with where you were at?
That's still debatable. That's still debatable, but I think so. I think so. So we that like I said, that was in 2011, and in 2017, 2017, we were just shocked. We had already been through the loss of my husband, and now we're 6 years later, and my daughter is diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer.
And how old was she when she was diagnosed?
She was 25,
25.
just had her second child, and diagnosed with stage 4. Man, but she was full of faith. She was full of faith. A lot of times I feel like she was um, faithful for others, where she may have wanted to fall apart, but the example that she had been given was to stiff upper lip it, and that wasn't her nature. It just wasn't. She was a lot more. She was a lot more softer than that. A lot more softer. Um, but she held on to her faith. She fought colon cancer with everything she had. And I walked right alongside of her with it, you know. But I also knew that because God had taken Kevin home, my husband home, that he could also do it this time too. And I question that about myself sometimes now. Did I not fight enough? Did I not pray hard enough? Did I not believe enough? Did I just surrender? But we together we fought it. We did everything medically, and we did the prayers between us and the church and people who knew her, people who heard about her story. She wasn't quiet about it, which I was very proud of. She spoke about it often. She went live on Facebook from chemo, and live on Facebook from hospital stays, and she always would say, "This is bigger than me. This is bigger than me. This is not just about me. I need to show the world that you can survive this." And for 4 years she did. In July of 2021, she was getting ready for a um, a clinical trial. But in order to be on a clinical trial, you had to be off of the chemo treatment for at least 30 days. And in those 30 days, without being checked, the cancer just spread all through her. By the time she went in for the clinical trial, and she didn't feel anything really different, except for maybe the week before she was going for the clinical trial. But when she went in, they said, based on the scans and the testing, she's now at the point where she just has about 30 days to live. So, what we have been doing all along is this little dance between her and I. Because I wanted her to be prepared, but I could never say it to her. And she wasn't ready to receive it. So, what we would do is something would come up and would lead us to conversation of death, always. You know. But we always talked about my death, never about hers. And she would tell me what she would want for the family if I pass, so that she never had to say her passing. And there were so many crazy, hard moments in that entire process that to even put it in words, it was just those last 30 days. First of all, my husband had died in August of 2011. Now we're at 2021 and we're embarking on August. So we had, because we always did something to commemorate his passing, but we were planning a 10-year ride down to the site because none of the kids had gone. When I went alone with my girlfriend. And so we had been planning to take that ride, but we never could because. So now we're 10 years after his passing, and we have to get the house ready for her passing. She said, I don't want to go to a facility. No worries. I won't take you to it. And she kept saying, are you going to be okay? Yeah. That's not the issue right now. None of that matters. So before she was released because she was placed in the hospital when she went in, she didn't know that it was the start of her last 30 days. I wanted to make sure they did every kind of test available. I had them send her scans to different facilities. And then when all of that came, and we're there for days, and all of that comes back, same answer. Well, now she has to be told. I had to tell my now 29-year-old that this was it, that they had done all that they could.
Denise, how old were her children at this time?
At the time, 5 and 3.
Wow.
5 and 3. And so my son came, we had the minister come and the hospital chaplain and, a social worker. I tried to set the tone. But in all of this happening, I was still on management duty. I was still managing everything and not feeling. I just could not. I slept in the room with her for the time that she was there. I stayed. And she was still mobile and everything. But I showered her. I put her clothes on her. But I did it all in my same tone. Okay, do you feel like eating anything? I'm gonna run out and get you some. Just trying my best to manage the situation because that's something I could handle. I could not handle the thought of my child dying. I just could not. Luckily, I had Denise Rollins that I could call and just say to her, Lauren has less than 30 days. Handle it. Handle it. So we took her home. My youngest son, had just moved back home because he knew with what Lauren was going through that it was going to be hard on me to be in the house alone. My other son was married, had just gotten married. He came to me on Mother's Day that year, he and his girlfriend, and they said, we've picked a wedding date. Great, we need something exciting to happen. Now this is May. Lauren's still functioning well, we thought, and she's planning to move into her own place. That's how well we thought she was doing. She was moving back away from home. So I said to him, well, what's the wedding date? And he said, June 12th. Oh, okay, that gives us a year to get everything done. Okay, cool. He said, no, this June. As in 30 days? Really? We're going to have a wedding in 30 days. And he said, yes, we are. Yes, we are. And it's going to be beautiful. And it was. It was in their yard. There wasn't the crazy bridezilla moments or anything like that. This was, we're going to have this happy occasion and the family is going to love it. Okay, I'm stressing, but all right, if you like it, I love it. Let's go ahead and get her done. After the wedding, a couple of days later, I started to look at some of the pictures I had. I had no idea my daughter looked like that. I had no idea. When I saw the pictures of her frailness, and it just broke my heart. And I said to Kevin Jr., I said, oh my God, Lauren has really gotten so small. He said, I knew you didn't see it because you're with her every day. I knew you didn't see it. He said, Mom, that's why we got married when we did. He said, Lauren does not have long and you don't see it. No, I did not see it. And he was right. And he was right. That was in June and she was gone in August. When we brought her home, Kyle and his girlfriend, while we were at the hospital, they had equipment brought in, everything. I was going to be her caretaker at home. I was taught about morphine, about all the drugs, and we all went through. My sons and the girl and his wife all came and we all learned how to administer her pain meds to her. But we also, you had 30 days. So much family had come in. So many family members had come by to see her that after a while it just felt like she's not going anywhere. She's having too much fun with the visitors and all of that. She was up and talking and, we thought she was good. I thought she was good. My sons didn't think so. I did. And I went to a movie. I went to see Aretha Franklin. That was the first time I left home. And I went to see Aretha Franklin movie. I had gone out somewhere else during the day. I went to see the Aretha Franklin movie, and Kyle stayed home with Lauren so that I could go and spend time with the family. And he called me in the movie, which I thought was strange because he knew I was in the movie. And he just kept calling. So I left out of the movie and went out into the hallway. I said, "Hey, you good? Is everything okay? Is Lauren good?" He said, "Lauren's fine. I'm leaving now, and Kevin is here with her, but I wanted to tell you I was leaving, and I wanted to say goodbye." And I said, "Oh, okay, hon. You know you could have texted that to me, right?" And he said, "I know, but I just wanted to say, I just want you, to know that I was leaving." And I was like, "Thank you. I appreciate that." That boy died that night. He died that night. He went out with friends. He was on his way home, and he called me at like 2 something in the morning. I was still up because he wasn't home. And Lauren was restless. So she and I were both up, and he called. And he said, "Hey, Mom, something happened to the truck." I said, "All right, you good? Are you okay?" And he said, "I'm fine, but I can't get it to start." "All right, no problem. Let me get AAA on. I'm going to get them out there to help you." And he said, "Okay, I'm going to call a friend." "Okay, cool." AAA tells me 45 minutes, they'll be there. Kyle, 45 minutes, they'll be there. Get back in the truck, chill until they get there. He said, "Whoa, Mitchell is here now. We're going to get it started." "No problem." Calls me back. "Mom, truck is started. I'm on my way home." I said, "Just go to Mitchell's house. Why are you coming home?" Because they were in Baltimore. "Why are you coming home?" He says, "I want to be there tomorrow for Lauren because we were celebrating her birthday early." And I said, "Kyle, it's not necessary. Just go ahead to Mitchell's." He said, "No, I'm coming on home. Stay on the phone with me." "No problem. I'll stay on the phone with you. I'm awake. You know." He says, "All right, I'm putting everything back. I'm on my way. Thank you, Mom, for staying on the phone with me." That's it. That's it. That's all I heard. That was it. And I'm like, Kyle, where are you? Kyle, what's going on? Kyle. A drunk driver had come off the ramp and run into the back of him at full speed. At full speed. I found out later he was reaching for his phone, so he never saw Kyle's truck. And rear-ended him. His head hit the steering column.